David is awoken by the pain in his body, but he needs to get going. "Gavi, what is the ETA for arrival?" he said as he rose and swung his legs out. "ETA 2 hours. The human contingent is awake and is gathering for the briefing in room 2, the AI says. "Also, I kept this information away from the captain. I have sent a file to you." As the tablet on the table next to him beeps, David rubs his eyes as he takes a look. What is it? "The drone has seen something. Please watch carefully." David activates the video file. The scene is X5001C, but it is green and lush, and there are signs of advanced life on its surface and orbit. Then a ship jumps in and closes on the planet. Then audio is captured, and a voice speaks out in English. "You have been found guilty of the sin of existence. Your world, a hell, has given demons to form, and so by the order of their holiest inquisition, I sentence you and your world to exterminatus. May the gods have mercy on your victims." Then the ship fires 3 rounds, their impact unleashing fire and death. The atmosphere is ignited, and the few orbital stations are destroyed before the ship jumps away. "Thank you, Gavi. Please keep this locked, and keep the orbital debris off sensors," David says as he locks the information into the data chip. "They have expanded and have an FTL-capable ship," Gavi said. "Does this change your mission?" "No, it means I may not get them all," David says as he gets ready. The team was there when David walked in. Everyone but Emmy and Jackson. They all quieted down as he reached the head of the table and plugs in his tablet. "Okay, Emmy and Jackson, I sent you the file," he says, and he tapped away on his tablet. "Right." He takes off his visor, dropping it to the surface, and rubs his eyes before he waves his hand, and the holo map activates. "We are dropping in about an hour." The image of X5001C comes forward. "We normally wouldn't do anything. Our Republic has given us orders to only land on Class 2 danger worlds, but this planet," they are all studying the information, "was meant to be a garden world, a Class 1, so we are going to it." The teammates who are fast readers look at him, but he waits for everyone to finish. "So, as you can all see, the planet is now a barren world, a Class 2 or 3, he glances at Maya, an apology on his face, one she notices. "Because of the difficulty of its class, the ground team will be made of Maya's team, Fire Team Alpha, and with no non-humans." They all look at each other, a clear sign of the risk of their task. "The other 2 fire teams will be staying on the ship, Oscar and Danella. Your shuttles are staying put too. You guys are on search and rescue, Rick. You and your shuttle are on the ground team. I'll be in the expedition command station. Ground team, I want BI hourly check-ins." He stands up a bit and carefully watches all of them before looking to the ceiling. "Gavi, family meeting. Audio scrubbing active," the AI says. "For those of you in the know, you may have figured it out, but I think it's only right you all know," David said as he taps his tablet. "We have been sent to make contact with our lost kin, the people that took the Genesis, but the mission is a hostile one." Everyone except the grunts, Hearth, Samantha, and Angela look around as their teammates' faces change and shift, a grim stoicism taking hold. "The people that took the Genesis were the last members of the terrorist group, the Imperial Administratum," David says, an assuredness in his voice causing a few to swallow hard. They had all heard their broadcasts and had learned about them in school, or seen videos of their part in the war when they got older. "As you are well aware, they are a religious extremist order, and they have survived." David taps and plays the video that Gavi gave him. This was taken from the drone in X5001C. The planet could have had a new species for the community. He stops at the broadcast and waits for the video to finish. "We also have video evidence of their attack into community space. A survivor got it, but had to decouple his escape pod in FTL. He died to get us this," he says as he taps a new video. The first image is a fine corridor, walls lined by artworks and carpeted floor, a fine wood overlay. Then the forms of humans, Lithrani, Xandraphanes, and Vistani start running through it before the screen flashes, and they are torn apart from the impact of explosive rounds, only to have 2 human forms walk forward, weapons in hand, kicking the bodies. Anyone that twitches, they shoot again. The next is that of a hall. A group of passengers is being slowly encircled. Their aggressors are the humans in armor with weapons ready. But this time the attackers unleash fire, their weapons burning everyone. Some of the attackers start jumping and dancing. The next shows a woman quickly closing a door to a room. Behind her are children too young to understand. They are from a few races. She is throwing furniture against the door, and she pushes as much as she can to block the door. But a hole is made, and an attacker pokes his weapon in, firing a few shots. None hit her, so she throws herself at the hole, yanking at the weapon when a shot hits her shoulder. As she falls, the door gives way, and an attacker moves in, looks at her and the children, reaches into a pouch and tosses a grenade at her before walking out. She runs at the children, grasping as many as she can, and tries to shield them. Then the feed cut out. The screen shifts to an airlock chamber as an attacker opens the inner side, while another throws two small Lithrani girls in, and they seal the door. The girls start hitting the door, pleased to be freed. But the attackers open the outer side, and the girls are pulled out into the void. Then the attackers exchange a glance and high five before turning and walking away. The next shows a human man running at an attacker with a stool, but he stops as the attacker impales him with a bayonet before firing an explosive round. Bisecting the man in half, the attacker shoulders his weapon and fires off-screen. The scene changes to a room where a Vistani is being held by his hands and tail, his attackers pulling, and they slowly tear him in half. Before turning their attention to most likely the Vistani's family, the attackers unload, firing a full magazine. The scene shifts, and it is a small dining area, and an attacker is fighting a Zandradane, but he is wielding what appears to be a Lithrani child, using their ears as a grip until they are torn off, and he shoots the Zandradane, then walks over to the child and crushes her head under his boot. David paused, as everyone but those who knew is pale. I don't think you need to see more. You are all more than aware of the danger they pose to the GC. David takes a deep breath. Our mission is to get to their homeworld and destroy it, an act I am to perform. I need you guys on the ground team to understand why you will find signs of life on X5001C, so that's the ugly truth. The worst part of humanity's past is out here. Maya raises her hand, and David gives her a nod. Do any of the crew know? Only Alaris, I told her. We need her pack on our side, but no one else knows. Hans looked at David with a hard gaze. So you're going to do it. How? Oscar's shuttle has been modified with an FTL device and remote guidance. David said carefully, I can activate it with the comms array, so we will be mutinying, as I need to be on the bridge. They all slowly come to the same understanding, but Cole raises his hand. Which ship was that in the video? The Aurora Starlight. The two engineers and all the science staff lock their eyes on him, a realization of a part of his past. One, he told them once, the reason he gave for how he lives. Then their minds became clear. They had this mission, too. None of this leaves this room, are we clear? David says, and they all nod. Good, dismissed. Briefing day after tomorrow at 13 o'clock. David is working out, but the thoughts about last night and of Alaris distract him. He wants to look at her without the visor, to see her with his eyes, and for her to see him too, but he also wants to protect her, keep her from the frightful visage he is to her. He had done his research, and she is right. The Hayakish had reflective eyes, a silver wash like his. And it is a nightmare to her and her kin. It is nearly 10 feet tall at a hunch and 7 wide, and can glide soundlessly, its natural coat a camouflage that can hide its form with ease. It is a perfect hunter of her kind, their natural predator, capable of approaching without making a sound, hidden until it sets upon them, using her kin's powerful hearing against them, capable of killing and fleeing without fear of retaliation, skin thick enough to shrug off small-caliber weapons, and powerful arms to climb high into the trees and glide away on its wings. Its claws were like short knives, and a maw of hooked fangs, capable of rending flesh and bone with ease and keeping its food locked. And her instinct tells her to run every time she sees his eyes, to flee from him, lest she becomes the monster's meal, a survival instinct from their early history. Its existence had a large impact on her culture, as this monster hunts men more than women, leading to her people's ways. Fear of getting attached pulled them to a restrained matriarchy. Women were taught not to be fond of mates and not to have only one, lest the Hayakish takes them. And all of that led to his current problem. He wants her, his Zandno, his love, but she can only withstand his attention when his eyes are hidden or closed. His thoughts break away at the restraints of his frustration, and a yell escapes as he drops the barbell, letting it fall as he turns away. The sound carries, and most look his way as he squats down, resting on the balls of his feet, hands clasped over his neck, eyes staring at the ground. What is he to do? She tried to look past the monster and see him again, but the demand to run gives way to pain, one at her heart, one he can't stop, one he can't soothe, for the pain is him and his eyes. What can he do but wait for her to be able to look, to see him, to see past the silver wash and see his mind again and read his heart? Or has he been a fool to think she would? Her heart aches too, her will give up and leave him, taking with her another part of him. "David," Alaris calls, her feet finding a place in his sight, but he doesn't move. He feels her hand find his, a gentle squeeze, an effort to pull him away and bring him back to her. "Do you need to talk?" Her voice carries to him. It is warm and caring, a loving desire to soothe. He inhales hard. No need to trouble her with this, not this fear. "No." He stands up and moves to face hers. "I am fine, my Zanno." He tries to hide his fears, forcing a calm and clear tone to his throat. "Please, do not worry. Just working out too hard." But his efforts are for naught as her eyes narrow, her gaze reads him, eyes intently watching his visage, and a sliver of understanding forms. "I'll be coming tonight to try again." Her voice is still one of love, but anger dances at the edges. "I understand your care for me and the fears you may have, but I told you 2 nights ago I will never leave you." Her hands grasp his shirt and her claws poke at his skin beneath. "So don't hide from me. I expect you to keep your word. You said you would do more to show your heart, so don't hide," she says as she forces him to her, their lips meeting, a deep display of her care but the force she places to keep him there, a clear message of her anger of his lie. As they pull away, her eyes open for a second with love but shift to panic. Their audience is fixed on them, and their connection is a difficult one. A hit of apology shows in her eyes as she pushes him over his discarded weight, causing him to fall over. "Stop cowering and keep working. I will not have a weakling as my Cusafane." She roars loud enough to carry through the gym, but her eyes are affixed on him, and they are a request for him to forgive her, which he does with a nod. She walks away, and David lingers for but a second, then gets to his feet, his eyes scanned for a few seconds. But the visor is not showing where he is looking, so he takes it off and gets back to his curls. His grip is tight and he lifts the weight. His visage shifts to a desire to work hard, one that makes every Zondrafane before him slowly move away and get out of his line of sight, but he doesn't care. He has a goal. He is her Cusafane, and he would be as strong as she needs. He will stand even when she can't. He had forgotten their night together after he told her about his mission, and she stayed. He had told her clearly that he would be a monster, yet she stayed. She is as strong as he could ever ask for, and he should stop being foolish, for she would not leave him lest he pushes her away, and he would never do that. David was standing in one of the observation rooms. His void suit was on, but only up to his waist, its modularity useful for what he has planned. Off beside the wall is Keen Quiss the Bold, and his wife and leader of the Kyle-mare, Killian Quiss the Wise, and they are both outside of the light the window can give. David was watching them, yet they are unaware, as his eyes don't show it. Their body language is full of fear and panic, but they stay and watch, their religious desire to see if his goddess will protect him held them in place. "Gavi, lower the radiation shielding for this room by 25%. David says as the room grows brighter, the temperature raises, and the bits of the room in the light start to smolder. "Gavi, drop it by another 25, David said, his voice resolute. "David, at the lower filter, the room may combust," the AI says back. "Do it," David orders. The lowering of the shielding causes the temperature in the room to rise again, and the little furniture that was exposed started to burn. But David remained, his face seemingly looking right at the local star, his arms raised to shoulder height, his image that of one bathed in light, and his observers had now fallen to their knees, hands clasped together, the fear finally overwhelming their understanding as he stood in what would kill anyone else. "I see her and her angels. They are waiting, they are watching, and they see me," David said, his voice clear and loud as he smiles. They are waiting to see my works, and they are waiting for my return, so that I may take my place beside them. To fight and strike in her name, he steps forward. For I am her wrath made mortal, and all will know her work. He turns his head to them, a clear message to send. Keen Quist the Bold breaks. Stop! Please forgive me, he yells, a dread carrying in full in his voice. David waves his hand. Gavi, he orders. The room returns to its normal state as the shielding is raised back to full. The furniture that was exposed is either ash or melted, and the floor he is standing on is hot even through his boots, but his face doesn't shift. Do not doubt my goddess, unlike yours. She stands alone as she does not need to share her power. His voice was harsh but pointed. He doesn't wait for them to answer, and walks out, leaving them trapped in the corner. The floor to the door is still too hot to walk on. As David gets to the Expedition Command Center, it is a mess. Each race gets a number of terminals to communicate with their ground teams. In David's case, that means one terminal at the far side of the room, out of the way from everyone else. But the rest are a flurry of activity. The Larashi have 10, as well as the Vishtani. The Kiolmers, Lithrani, and Gyndos have 5 each. The Zandrophanes have 12, and the rest have 6, so it is packed, to say the least. But everyone is shouting over each other as they try to set up. David gets to his one easily enough and turns it on. He may be staying by it for the better part of a week, while they scout the system. It's not a lot of time, but enough for the Council to get a clear picture of what's here and how to divide up the resources. The truth is, the Republic wouldn't mind having the planet his team would be going to. Sure, they would need to terraform it again, but they are doing that on Mars. The thing they would want more is the tech the civilization that had been there had. If they had the tech to leave, then there is a chance for some new additions to Earth's knowledge. David takes up the headset and slips it on, then tests its setting before checking the connection. Equipment test for his team is underway over in the armory, so they should be able to hear him. Tess, Samantha, do you hear me? There is a short bit of static. Then her voice comes through. I hear you loud and clear. How do I sound? Well, a lot nicer than in person. Can we make this arrangement permanent? He says back. Nah, then I can't slap your ass, she says, before adding, Don't tell Alaris I said that. I think she is a jealous wife. David chuckles at that, but he hides his mouth with his hand. Maya, what about you? I and the ground team can all hear you, but can you speed up? She says, then grunts. These suits are really uncomfortable with all the extra bits. She has a point David didn't think of. The Modular Void Suit, or MVS, is the latest of humanity's non-military innovations. Its standard form is a 3-part suit that can seal together and protect the wearer for up to 3 days in the void. As it recycles body waste and provides water back, at a bit of a fee, the life support unit is less than 5 pounds on Earth and sits right over the spine, right by the swell of the back. The interesting feature is the additional equipment that you can add. Need to be on a planet with a non-breathable atmosphere, then add more life support. Need to get by on a lightless land, then add more lights. Going to a planet that is freezing, then add a better heating unit. Gotta go to a planet with a corrosive atmosphere, then add a personal shielding unit. Need to take a walk on an asteroid, then add mag boots. The issue is that the away team, all of them, need to add extra kits, which adds weight and makes it stuffy, just so they can check on what's going on their assigned planet. Fire Team Alpha, how are you doing? David asks as he checks some settings on his terminal. Hearth's voice rings in clear. Good. Some of the grunts are mad. They don't want to be groundside during the trial. Yep, I figure. Tell them to stow it, Fire Team Bravo, David says, while he finds the private chat settings and sets up a channel for teams. Loud and clear, sir, the voice of Richard rings in David's ear. Fire Team Charlie? David asks, but he knows the team lead is connected. We can all hear you loud and clear, Samantha says. Good, he adds, while moving the monitor system of the ground team and alpha team into the corner of his display and pins them to the foreground. I'll be signing off. See you all at dinner. He spends a few seconds finding the comms for the shuttles and connects. The pilots should be doing checks, so he may as well check on the comms with them. Anyone there? He says. Firebat here. I hear you loud and clear, Daniela says. Whiskey Business hears you loud and clear, Oscar responds. Ricardo, Loud and clear, Rick said. Good, how are your checks going? David says as he pulls up a feed from the hangar and adds the shuttle's check system to a group window. Firebat is ready. Had to get a replacement seat. Someone spilled some oil all over it, but we are ready, Daniela says. Oscar adds, Whiskey business, we are missing a seat, but we don't need it. Rick chimes in, Ricardo has been loaded with the gear the ground team need, but all flight checks are green. We are ready to go. Perfect, signing off. See you later, David added before disconnecting and taking the headset off. And glances around before finding Alaris. She is currently leading 4 other Zondradanes, and they are running through the setup. Her gaze is hard on them, as her teams have families and clan members in them, and she and the 4 here are their points of safety. He goes to his terminal and opens a request to talk via chat, and looks back up to see if she takes it. Her terminal blinks, enough for her to notice. She looks for a second before looking at him, but she shakes her head. Her eyes have a wish to, but she is busy and needs her focus elsewhere. So David just smiles and nods, then leaves, his setup done and no need to stay here. Too many people right now.